Good morning. Welcome to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. Now I know what Adam said, Becky. All these microphones and speakers and everything's a little funky. But good morning, Becky, Allie to my right of me. We got 1 hour of great mortgage and real estate talk.
I am excited to be here. I feel like I went on a little hiatus. It's been a little while since I've been live in the studio, but I'm happy to be here with these amazing powerhouse women.
Yeah, they are.
I want to welcome Christine Lucian. She is known as the Michigan Assessor, right, on Instagram. I had the privilege of meeting her at an event. I think it was Ditch the Heels. And instantly, it was an instant connection. You know, anytime that you can be in a room with people that are high level, educating, know their stuff, and they're not afraid to spread that knowledge, right? It's like a good book, right? When you have something that's so amazing, you want to share it. And the way that you share your knowledge and educate people is probably one of the best things I've ever seen.
Oh my gosh.
Now what?
It's really good.
Well, wow. That's an amazing compliment. But honestly, I felt the same way about you when I met you. So
Yay.
I think we're on the right path here, being
Yes.
here together today.
Yeah,
So
we're in alignment.
thanks for inviting me. I'm just so happy to connect with you and to meet Harvey.
Thank
so
you.
Thank you guys.
Yes.
I'm happy
I'm not
to
as
be
cool
here.
as Becky. Hey, property tax expert, so I can't wait to dive into that.
Oh.
I even get confused about this, tax, what's the SEV and all those different things involved. So we're going to dive into that. And then also,
We have Giovanna Special. She is the real estate extraordinaire. She's going to be here to kind of piggyback on everything that's real estate, everything that's mortgage. As you guys know, every week, every Saturday, we're here 1 hour, everything mortgage, real estate, and taxes, which I'm really excited because it's actually just after July 1st. Property taxes are changing, and we want to take all your calls because obviously, it's affordability is an issue right now in Michigan and actually across the nation. And we're in an inventory issue. That's the same thing. It's kind of blocking and tackling. It's like layups and drills that you talk about. But we want to make sure that everyone knows what's happening after you buy your house, right? What is happening with these taxes? We talk about it up front, but most lending institutions do not extend that education of what happens to taxes after you purchase that house.
I like how you set that up too, Beck. You could buy the house. You can get your homeowner's insurance. Now you're set with that. That price can go up and down, but your property taxes definitely are going to be changing because homes do get reassessed. So if you could just get us going with that a little bit, July 1st.
Yeah, she's like salivating over there.
The reason you see this facial expression on me right now is because all of these tax increases are from a law called Proposal A, but it's a 30-year-old law. So when Becky says that lenders aren't doing it, for me, it makes no sense. Why aren't you doing it? It's inevitable. You should never be using the seller's taxes to set up the escrow. You should never even be giving that as an estimate because it's long gone the minute it sells. So and then I run into lenders who use vacant land tax on new construction.
Uh-oh.
It just blows my mind because mathematically it's so simple, but it's not a priority. And people aren't able to financially plan properly because they're not getting the right estimate. So that has been my main goal all along, is just teaching some simple formulas for everybody to use before they put an offer in, before that 7-day inspection period is up, before they close. Mm-hmm. Even if you're set on the house, let's get you a realistic idea. So if you have to start putting a couple $100 aside a month to avoid that shock 12 to 18 months after closing, then you're going to be right on the path to financial stability instead of being surprised, you know?
We talk about it often, like even with like new construction, right? That's obviously where it's the biggest almost like shock, right? Because the property's not fully assessed. It's just assessed the land, right? The taxes aren't where they're at. And over the last several years, I would say people overbought because the interest rates were so low, right? So they overextended on what they were paying. And now they have this really great rate that they romanticize and look at me, I have my 3%. Well, now you have taxes that you can't afford. And now you still can't afford the house. And now you are overextending on your credit cards and you're not even banning an eyelash on the 13, 18, 26% that you're paying on this interest because you are trying to do whatever you can to afford the property taxes that was never actually discussed in the beginning like it should have. And my heart goes out to a lot of people because people are trying to refinance and foregoing their 3% and their 4% interest rates right now because they have to levy those taxes again and reset that baseline.
It's exactly why I started making videos and teaching, because after almost 14 years of people coming to me and crying, literal tears, the empath in me just couldn't handle it anymore. I'm like, all right, nobody's out there helping these people. Why is this not known? Let's make it known. And so
I like that whole angle on there. So let's segue into the real estate side of things, because of course we're always excited. First time buyers could be out there, even second, third time buyers, and we're breaking down the payments for them and stuff. And I think what you said is so fantastic, Christine, because right, it's just not being shared. This information not being shared. The property taxes that are listed on that MLS, that's for the current owner. Those are not going to be your taxes.
Nope.
Now, if they just paid those summer tax bills, okay, so you're going to reimburse them. That's the proration of tax on the summer tax. But right, things will be reassessed 12 and 18 months later. How do we sort of, we're all excited. They're looking at the home. Can we just blatantly come out and say, if that's where we want to go with it, these property taxes are going to move up a little bit?
Yeah, I definitely let my clients know that when you purchase this house, what's on the MLS is not what you're going to be typically paying down the road. So I always stress that, and I always give an estimate of what it should be, what it could be down the road as well.
I want to break
it's
down
very important.
I want to break down the number of what it could be and should be. I used to take like half the purchase price times the millage
divided by 1,000.
Was that even close to being accurate? Give us what it is. How does that work?
So sadly, there's no way to know.
She's like, you're wrong.
No, you're
No,
not. No. So I teach a range
Okay.
because none of us, even an assessor, has a crystal ball as to what the SEVs and the true market value at the city level is going to be the following calendar year. I can't predict that. That is every assessor individually and how they, all the work that they've done all year to make those proper. So I have a baseline. I like to teach, I've taught over 700 professionals in the last 10 months.
701. You're going to teach me today, too.
701.
And maybe Becky.
And what I teach is a range. I want you to do 2 calculations.
Okay.
All you need is 3 numbers per property. Number 1, you need the current SEV. Okay. Because
Check.
what that's going to do is you're manually uncapping the tax for your buyer. Taxable value, ignore it, never again. Right? So SEV times the millage rate is your starting baseline. That's your minimum. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
And then the high range, or in some cases very close, would be half of sale price.
Right.
These can differ by thousands of dollars, right? So it depends on the property, when it last sold, when it last uncapped, and how the values have changed over the years. But in reality, like Giovanna, I'm sure you have this conversation with your clients. It's, hey, I think your taxes are going to be between this and this. I know that might be a little bit of a gap, but hey, they're probably going to be somewhere in the middle. But definitely don't use the seller's tax. So if the seller's paying $4,000 and they've been there 20 years, now you're looking at between 8 and maybe 11,000.
Yeah, it's at least a 33% increase in most cases. 40.
No, I will never put a percentage increase on it because I've had $200,000 uncappings. That's way more than 33%.
Right.
It's just dependent on the value and when it last sold. 2 main factors on what that tax jump's going to be.
Yeah, I say if you're buying grandma's house and she's lived there for 30 years, you're looking at a very substantial increase. But if someone's been there for the last 5 years, they're already in that moment of that progression. So it's not going to be as steep. But I do agree with you but it could be, right? I
You
agree with
said
you,
grandma, though.
Well,
and that is an exempt transfer, by the way.
well, not you're
okay.
actually like an elderly person. If you've like
an
buying
older person's house, okay.
Yeah, so like if they've lived in the house for 50 years and now they are, letting that house go and you're buying it and whatever's happening, you're going to see a huge increase. But I do agree with you that the error on side of caution is to take the purchase price, divide it by 2 times the millage rate. We divide it by 1,000. That's going to give you most likely the maximum increase. But again, to your point, you don't know how the city's going to assess it. So, and right now we're on the lending side, people are trying to buy houses with sunshine and rainbows, right? To get them to qualify, we're in such a small window. So that's why we kind of will say, this is what your taxes are going to change to. We can force this change right now, but know that if you are opting to keep these taxes based off what the current seller is paying within the next 18 months, you will have an escrow shortage, and we're going to have this conversation. But this is most likely what your payment's going to be, and that's some of the things that are happening too.
That's more of a thorough response I've heard most lenders say. It's usually like, hey, your taxes are going to go up. And then the residents come to me and they're like, they said they were going to go up, but I didn't know it was going to go up this much. Well, I knew it was going to go up that much. And if you had come to me and gotten an estimate, I would have been happy to give it to you because I don't want you financially struggling.
A lot of times I've heard this, like real estate agent will tell the buyer, hey, look, it's currently not homesteaded now. So when you homestead it, the property tax will probably be the same. And maybe that's not the case. 1,000% is not the case.
Well, it's not the case because what people don't realize is not all school districts give you the maximum 18 mil savings.
Right.
I know school districts that give 5 mils, 2 mils, 8 mils.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And so like I made a video a couple of weeks ago. It was like, stop promising your clients a 30% tax reduction for claiming it as their main residence. It's not always a guarantee. Number one, you're saying that they're buying a non-homestead. Once they uncap it and they add they add the homestead, it might just wash it out and they might not have any savings.
All right. We're always talking about saving money here, figuring things out. What's my house payment going to be? What's my rate going to be, Becky? All these
What
great
are my
things.
taxes going to be? That's what I care about.
There you go. All right. Look, a couple of these things you can change in life, but go out there and definitely get that house. We'll show you how to get that house, be a successful homeowner right when we come back. 248-539-9797. Keep it here. Welcome back to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show. We are brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. You can find us at 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. Also powered by CMG Home Loans, NMLS 1820, equal housing lender. That's right, 1-800-LOW-RATE. When you need the best, the experience, and all these questions, you need the right answers, to all these questions. You definitely want to call 1-800-LOW-RATE. The best mortgage bank. You'll find Becky, myself, and a whole staff there all weekend long. Becky, some interesting things been going on. Of course, rates are starting to feel like there might be a little bit of a break. But as Fed funds rates talk about maybe reducing the Fed funds, Beck, they've lowered Fed funds rates. Mortgage rates went up. Sometimes the Fed funds rates goes up and the rates come down. So there's no promise of this future 6% rate. But if they do go down, maybe an opportunity for more buyers to get out there.
No, to educate everyone, the Fed funds rate is directly tied to short-term lending. So that's your credit cards, your student loans, your car loans. That's why your $60,000 car now is $1,000 a month that you're not even thinking twice about, but you're going to clinch your pearls over a 6.875 interest rate on a 30-year term that is stretched out, but you're going to pay that same interest on a car loan that you can only extend up to 84 months. I mean, you have to kind of, I talk about you want to park your car in your own drive, not somebody else's. And that's how you have to make sure that you're not overextending yourself with these short-term lendings, because that's going to have a direct correlation with what you're going to qualify when you are talking to Giovanna about what you're going to qualify for. So when I look at your credit and I see that you co-signed and you have $1,000 car and then you have this other $500 car. Well, now that's $1,500 in car payments that now has a direct effect on, now you can't afford that $200,000 house. I might have to pull you all the way back to $150,000. So just take that in consideration before you are looking to purchase, or have that conversation, because you don't know what you don't know. And just certain things like, I want to live my life, I'm going to just buy this car, I'm shoulder shimming, because like that's people think, but those action steps have a direct effect on how much house you can buy.
The rates can move either up or down based on whatever CPI does. The data sort of dictates things, but maybe the best decrease we could get is on the car loan side here in the Motor City.
Yeah.
We care about that.
I can't wait to refinance mine.
No doubt. Because, exactly. You got a nice car. But besides that, there's no doubt, guys, because it's all about affordability. You know, when we meet families, of course, we're breaking down the debt to income ratio, and then we reach out to you, and Giovanna, we're telling you, we're sending an approval letter, and we're saying we ran it through, they're approved at this. But again, as we talked about, you know, taxes are different. All of a sudden they go get a car and now they got 700 debt added. I mean, I'm hoping that maybe some relief on the car side, because we all have two cars per household, seems like.
Right. And I just tell my clients, do not go out and buy a car.
Yeah, right.
After you're pre-approved.
Yeah. I feel like, there's like a vacation, and then
Or
someone buying
furniture.
a car is like, it all goes like correlation. Like I'm buying a house, I have to buy a car, or my lease is up at the same time. It just kind of goes like that.
Don't go out and buy a large purchase.
No. And the math behind that is you do not want to have your car payment more than 10% of your gross monthly income. So if you're making, monthly, so if it's like $4,000 a month, if you don't want your car payment to be more than $400 a month, because that is going to have a huge effect on those ratios. Because even for some of these down payment assistance programs, you either fit in the box or you don't. And if people are having a hard time saving money, if you're getting money from the state or any other bond program that we have access to, you cannot have more than 45% of your maximum debt being overextended to things. And cars are a huge problem that I'm seeing. Even like parents that are co-signing for their children, that it has an effect.
Yeah, I had a pre-approved buyer. I was just driving in at work. I think it was like Wednesday, and I was all excited. Within 2 miles, I got to the office. All of a sudden, 2 car loans are on this credit report, and his debt goes from $500 to like $1,100 or $1,200. It's a different ball game. So always looking for relief out there. Who knows? The housing market's been stuck in some doldrums. I mean, higher prices, no doubt we're dealing with higher prices, higher interest rates. But that's why we got you in here today, Christina, to talk about this property tax thing, because this is a make or break too. And a lot of families set themselves up for success by knowing it, or the opposite, not knowing it, and then things don't work out so good. You don't want to buy a house that's just out of your price range where you're struggling each and every month.
No.
Even the most seasoned property buyers just aren't expecting the tax increase. Even the best commercial investors, they're not including it. And how are they going to figure out their return on investment and set their rent rates and the X, Y, and Z if they don't even know that their taxes are going up $10,000 next year and for every year of ownership? Okay, that's 10,000 times 10 years. It's $100,000. You're not accounting for it. It's not always just the 1 year. Your money you need to plan it for years, right? So
how long is it? So like once the tax rate uncaps, is there a certain time, like a timetable where it's like, okay, it's been 7 years, it's done, it's going to eventually like stay, or is it just to the ends of time?
He mentioned CPI earlier. So the U.S. Department of Labor, they take 2 years of CPI data, and then they average the difference of the 2 years to set the inflation rate. But Proposal A capped that inflation rate on the taxable value.
Is that the Headley? Is this the Headley thing?
Well, it took over the
original
Headley
one?
Act. Okay. Proposal
1994.
Proposal A was passed in March of 1994. It took over the Headley Act, created the taxable value, capped taxes at the rate of inflation, or 5%, whichever's less. This year and last year, beautiful, 5%. So it's hitting people hard. I mean, my bill personally went $500 just because of inflation.
Yeah.
And the higher the value, the higher the increase. So that's how it is, though. And, a couple times now I wanted to mention here, you guys have talked about pricing and rates are higher. I get a lot of boomers, right? They want to go and downsize. They want to sell their family home. They think they're going to go save money, moving from their, 2,000 square foot colonial into a little condo. Well, no. Number one, you're paying inflated pricing on the actual purchase, and then also the tax rates for today. I always say anybody who owned their property before the recession and still has it today, they're still paying recession taxes because of the inflation rate cap every percentage every year.
Boy, Giovanna, she's giving us another
That's
reason
correct.
why
Yeah.
we can't get these old timers to get out of their house.
That's
because
true.
They don't want to leave now the 3 to 4% interest rate they got. They don't want to leave because they're going to be recapped. But this is what we're seeing out there is why many of the boomers are like, wait a minute, I can't really downsize and save money. I can downsize and get a smaller house, but not save money.
Right. I've definitely even seen elderly people who want to downsize, and they're just like, I'm not saving any money here.
Nope.
Yeah, like the payment, and even like, you know, people don't even take in consideration homeowners insurance, even where, you know, I'll ask someone to get a quote and they'll send it over to me at like $2,500. And I'm like, you better get this out of my face. Like, you can do better than this, right? But they just like get a quote. I got this quote, and they don't like, okay, divide that by 12. That's just as much as your property taxes. We have to do better. And when, you know, you're talking about, there's people that have bought houses, they're very experienced. There's so many people that come to us that have bought their second, third home, and they have no idea what happened to them the first 2 times.
Nope.
Right.
Because no one really ever dissected it and really broke it down to this granular level of like, this is what it's about. It's not just looking right at our nose, but where are you at 5 years down the road? What are you trying to do?
It matters.
Yeah.
There's a lot of amazing professionals out there in title and lending and agents and assessors. And, you know, all it takes is professionals like us who actually care about the client and what is going to happen to them for the rest of their future, not just closing the deal.
A little bit more of a deep
People
dive.
over
Transactional,
profit.
yeah.
People over profit
Ooh, I love that.
forever.
That's good.
Forever. So it's really important, you know, because they're all trusting us.
All right,
Yeah.
we
So
are
it's-
seeing some inventory increases with that in mind, though, right? They're starting to get that confidence that they could maybe, you know, try something different, downsize, move down south, sell the house, maybe sell it to a family member. Becky always talks about that so much, Beck, that so many families now with the lack of inventory are just looking to say, wait a minute, grandma's thinking about moving down to her place down south. I'll move into that house.
Yeah.
I'll buy that house, or they can sell it to each other.
I have 3 transactions going on right now about that. And I see you raising your hand over there, my lady, about that. Because there's taxes, there's tax credits that I'm assuming you can get in there with that.
It's
But
good.
But it's adding also false inventory as well when you're having that property exchange. You're like, oh, we got a couple new houses on the market. No, really, we didn't, because mom just sold a daughter, and, you know, or daughter sold a grandma or whatever. And so now you have these house swapping. But because I've talked about this with my two buyers that are buying from mom, right? One's buying from mom, one's buying grandma's house. Tell us about how someone can, depending on the transfer tax, you know, things like that, how they can kind of grandfather themselves into the certain property taxes.
So starting a couple of years ago, they created a law where if you're selling your residential property to grandparents, parents, siblings, adopted children, and children, then it won't uncap. You do have to file the property transfer affidavit and check the box. It is not given to you without asking.
Okay.
But you could, like a lot of people, I say, if your parents have lived there 20 years, they're paying recession taxes. That's a great property, you know, Sterling Heights, wherever it is. You should just keep it in the family and keep this low tax rate forever. Rent it out, make some money. I don't know. But actually, I take that back. Sorry.
Yeah.
That law, you cannot go use it for a commercial purpose. So never mind. Don't write it
Can
out.
you do this? Can I add my name
digress.
to my grandparents' home? And now I'm entitled to the home. And then after a year or after 6 months or a year, I go to Becky and I refinance the home. And that won't reset the property taxes, will it?
Refinance? No. If a
Maybe I do a
deed is
cash out.
recorded, yes, but you're not recording a deed
No.
changing the ownership. So no, refinances do not uncap. That's a common misconception.
All right, there's some interesting things here that you can do to probably save yourself a lot of money. Get in touch with the right people. Call us at Capital would be a good start. We'll hook you up with Christine and all these great people. 1-800 Low Rate, the best mortgage banker. Inventory's been up, and I'm hoping that inventory continues to increase a little bit. The number said something like, it was pretty huge, like 6.3% above last June. Giovanna, so that was pretty cool. The 3 Ds out there that always used to free up a lot of housing were death, divorce, and disease. So, I mean, I hate to say it, but yes.
He's like Debbie Downer over here.
Yeah. Wow.
We just
Sorry
added
about that.
the 4 Ds, 5 Ds now.
The 5 Ds, had another one on there. But yes, we do see the inventory picking up across Southeast Michigan. Let's talk about that.
A tiny bit. I mean, I don't feel like the inventory is as much as it has been.
Or reported,
Yeah,
obviously.
exactly.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's just hard to find a good home out there, you know, for a lot of buyers out there, and it's just, there's not enough inventory.
Between
And when there is,
Yeah.
it's a lot of over asking. way over asking, and a lot of cash buyers.
So that's still going on out
It's
there.
crazy.
It's
There is
very-
still a lot of cash buyers out there.
Yeah,
And people are like, where is this cash coming from? And it's,
I hear the same thing.
Yeah.
But I have seen them. I mean, and when you get a listing, it's like 1 or 2 days. If it's priced right, it's gone.
Multiple bids
Yeah.
over.
we went on record at the beginning of
Appraisal.
the year talking about how this year was going to be like a 2020 all over again, but minus the refinance like that
Right.
activity, right? Because the people are digesting the idea that the rates are kind of going to be where they are, right? They've made it more palatable for their mindset. And then the people that are renting, they no longer want to rent, or the ones that are renting, the landlords are wanting to sell and capitalize on that profit. So I just feel like we are getting there are more buyers than property, and that's where people
Definitely.
are like talking about the housing bubbles happening. It's not, because we're in such a lack of inventory. It's common economics.
Alrighty, 248-539-9797. We're going to have sports following us. It's the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show. Keep it here. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. Call us there all week long. 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage bank. You're going to save a ton of money when experience counts. Call the pros. We've been around a long time. 1-800-569-7283. Hey, live in the studio here, 97.1 The Ticket. We take your calls, 248-539-9797. 539-9797. Tiger Baseball comes up next. Took one on the chin last night. They're going to bounce back today. Man, that Dodgers got a tough team. We'll come back today. Man, a 3-0 lead. I don't want to talk baseball here, Becky. We'll just go back to mortgages and real estate. And want to thank, of course, Giovanna's in here. Giovanna Special's in here.
And Christine Lucian. I'm sorry I said Christina once, so that's my bad. It's Christine, everybody, and she is a Michigan assessor. No, so what certain cities do you work?
I usually don't talk about that because
Is it like Tri-County?
No, I'm a contractor, so my communities are my clients. So I try to maintain that
autonomy.
Yeah, but I can tell you that I work in multiple counties, and I've worked in over 9 different communities over the last 13, 14 years. So but our licensing is statewide. It doesn't matter. I could go work in Kalamazoo or Escanaba. My licensing is the same. I have to know the same information, the same laws, the same processes.
Let me hit you with one of these. A lot of renovation loans, families are buying these houses. They're overpaying over here. We all know everyone's overpaying, but they finally find that great location. The house maybe that needs some fixing up or a finished basement. I got to go in there and finish the basement. Let's talk about how is this, and obviously you're pulling permits. So now the assessor calls you and I got to get out there. So if I bury $25,000 in a basement, I walk out, daylight windows, you call it what you want. We call them basements. What is that going to add to my property taxes? Or give me something on that.
What you're spending on updating doesn't always translate to us adding that dollar amount because we're using the Michigan Cost Construction Manual that has building rates. And if you spend $25,000 on a bathroom, I'm not adding a $25,000 value onto that bathroom. It's maybe like $4,000 or $5,000 for a 3 fixture bath, full bath. And then we have a 2 fixture, which is a half bath. So every item has their base costs in the construction cost manual, and then the local rates are applied to it. So no, I'm not going to go add $25,000 on immediately for your basement, but I do want to know how many plumbing fixtures do you have? Do you have a bar? Do you have a wet bar? Do you have a kitchen? Do you have a bathroom, a shower?
It's a real stinker. I don't,
well, you asked.
I know. I'm yelling with the tax lady here. I really appreciate that. So tax lady, I spent all this money, to fix up my house because, we saved, we wanted to make it nice. We like to entertain. Now you're going to hammer me and tax me more. I don't want the assessor in my house. Am I allowed? I get that call. And I did tell the guy I said, nah, I'm all good, man. You don't need to come in here. Just do what you got to do.
So assessors are not the same as building department. Okay. Building department's going to have to go in your house to make sure that you did your stuff right. So your house doesn't burn down from an improper electrical fire, right?
Okay.
But assessors are not allowed in your home without being invited. We're not.
Why would I want him to come?
Well, don't invite us.
But aren't you going to reassess me anyways, or do you just guesstimate then? Or that's what I'm saying. I don't want to pay extra. I did the hardwood floors, but I don't want to pay extra because I picked out that beautiful chandelier. Why would I?
I'm not going to charge you for a chandelier.
What beautiful blinds you have.
We do class homes. C is average, and we go up from there. C +5, C +10.
Okay, there's a
negatives,
formula.
B, A. Custom, one of a kind is going to be an A rating. But most, even in these subdivisions in like Macomb and Shelby, they're like a C +10.
Gorgeous stuff.
They're beautiful, but they're not custom. They're just, the subdivisions with all the houses similar from the same builder.
Great,
they're great, but we're not adding a higher rating on those necessarily. Custom is going to be like a just
marvelous,
one of a
as far
kind.
as the eye can see.
Yeah. So
Okay, so when you're grading these properties, if you're not allowed into the home, right? So obviously, new construction, you guys are more intimate with because you have to be kind of, So if it's not a new construction, you guys are just grading it based off the
exterior, yeah.
And then do you guys pull permits and be like, okay, this person put a pool in, or they finished their basement? You can just see just what the permit was, and then you guys have like once a year. Like, how do you guys pull in that information? Because people do ask us that.
So when the permits are pulled, we'll go out initially and see what's going on. And then when the C of O on that item, we'll go out again and just verify, measure, take pictures. Above ground pools are non-taxable. In-ground pools are taxable.
Okay.
Ouch. All right, Giovanna Special from Real Broker. The main office is out in the Ann Arbor area, but of course you work all of Southeast Michigan. I know you live out in Macomb and all that.
I do. Yeah, I live out in Macomb. I mainly work Macomb County. I also do Oakland County.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about, I see that the $1 million homes, and they've gone up. They're starting to appreciate. There's a lot of value there. Again, prices went from 600,000-700,000 just 5 years ago. Those homes are now 800,000-900,000,
Yes.
close to $1 million.
Yep.
What's the inventory around that 250 to about 500? Is that what we were talking about before, where there's going to be multiple bids?
Yes, that is still the case with that price range. It's just hard to find. You're talking probably like condos within the lower 200s. Even condos, new condos within like 500,000. But also new construction, you're looking at anywhere from 550, I would say 500 to even $1 million, up in Macomb County.
We talked about the inventory a little bit, and you sort of, Harvey, I don't know if they're that nice. So there's some obsolescence. A lot of times, like all of a sudden, there's a whole bunch of homes on the market. In my sub, just to get out on the main road, there's 2 homes that just went up for sale, quickly.
Yeah.
And there's some obsolescence on both of them. They're both a little funky. Although they're on the water, they're a little funky. Is that what you're seeing? Like sometimes inventory is great, but these are maybe not the best homes out there, but they need some loving.
Yeah, it is. It all depends on the quality as well.
Okay.
I mean,
Good bones?
how it's showed. Yeah, good bones. I mean, if you have good quality, you have an investor, somebody who wants a fixer upper. I mean, that's the way to go. But if you're looking for a move-in ready, then obviously
Those are the ones
Yeah.
that are going to go quick. Becky,
Yeah.
one of the things we finally get an offer accepted and everything. And then sometimes we get the appraiser out there, and all of a sudden the appraisal comes back and it has peeling paint, evidence of water in the basement. I'm shrugging my shoulders going, wait a minute here. What happened to the listing agent walking around the house and saying, hey, we got to do these things? And there's other reasons why you do those things. Number one is to put the best product forward to maximize the amount you're going to, net from the proceeds of the sale of the house. It always sort of boggles me that they've gotten that far and they didn't do some of these minor things.
Yeah, you can't stick your head in the sand and pretend it's not there, and that's why, like we talk about very often, who you work with matters, because if it comes up on the private home inspection, those are things that the lender does not necessarily see, but you need to be in communication with your lender because the appraiser is going to see it, especially if it's FHA. They have a fiduciary duty to cite health and safety concerns. And you might go out there and I might go out there and what I think is health and safety might be different, but there is a standard code that they have to follow, like a broken window, if there's water, whether it's a conventional or FHA, if there's water somewhere, they're going to cite it because where's water, there's mold if you're not properly taking care of that. So like if someone brings that to my attention, I'm saying you have to fix that or it's going to be a reinspection fee. And we're going to have to fix it no matter what. So have the conversations up front because as the lender, we're the majority investor. And we have to make sure that our buyer is, number one, not overpaying for the property, but also not paying a property that is going to be, considered health and safety. Like there is going to be mold. Is that someone, like if we had to, God forbid, foreclose on that property, do we have something that we could resell later on? That's what it's all about, is preventing the foreclosures and making sure that people are aware of what they're buying, but also not overpaying. Because we're only going to lend based off the appraised value. There's a difference between price and value.
Yeah.
What someone's willing to pay, right, versus what it's worth are two different things. And you have to make sure that you're going into that transaction with your eyes open, especially with it being so competitive and people going over asking.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, Giovanna,
Totally
had a
agree.
couple transactions break down just because of like septics or systems were no good, or they couldn't put a new septic field in,
Yeah.
and there just wasn't enough area for it. So it's weird. Things that'll pop up on a transaction, hidden cost of home ownership was what I say. And sort of segue that back into hidden cost is one of the scariest and most crucial hidden cost is when your property taxes change. And of course, Christine, let's just sort of circle back to all that. Is give us the family I'm buying the house from, they've lived there for about 10 years. Now they're flipping the house. They're gonna sell it. They're gonna take their money and they're gonna run and they're gonna buy a better house. Now I'm gonna be taxed at what? What am I gonna be taxed at roughly? The new millage. Take the sales price times by the millage, or take the sales price divided by 2 times it by the millage. That at least should get me pretty close. Or
In some cases, it'll get you extremely close. Some cases, it'll be a little high. You guys are talking about people paying more for properties than what they're worth. Mm-hmm. Well, that's going to make the difference there of what the city's valuing it at and what you just paid for it. And it's like, okay, even though your tax is uncapped $10,000 in 1 year, you just paid $70,000 more than what the city's valuing it at. So
Right.
when you want to appeal it in spring, what's your argument? Show me all your comps. Well, then the comps are high, because those ones are also selling for way more because of bidding wars. And so it's just, this market right now is really tough. We saw a lot of value appeals, way years ago, but
Yes, I
now
wanna talk
they're
about
just, now they're just getting a little bit more tough for owners to provide proper evidence on saying that they're too high when we're lower.
Yeah, that's true. And like what you're talking about, like in 8, 9, 10, right? People are showing up like, my house is not worth this. I don't want to pay these taxes. Well, then it's a double-edged sword because everyone wants their property values to increase, but they don't want to pay those taxes.
So the cool thing about that is, like I said, people who owned their homes before the recession, when the market was actually like it is now, the values in the early 2000s were similar to now. I see that in our detail on all the properties. I can see 30 years worth of values on every property. And what happened is the values drop, and they dropped the taxable value down with it during the recession.
Right.
But then for the people who aren't selling, the SEV is increasing with the market while the taxable is creeping up the rate of inflation every year. So that's where that gap gets bigger and bigger and bigger. You said people want their value to go up, but they don't want to pay the taxes on it. Well, a lot of people got to enjoy that perk where the value is going up and the taxes are only going up a little bit because of Proposal A and how it works and how the
Like
market.
the cap is.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Right. You're capped based on inflation and how all that works. So roughly, it's fair to say that if home values continue to go up, which we see that happening all across the country, that your property taxes could go up between 2 and 3% each year. That's sort of something reasonable.
No, I'm saying we're probably going to be in the 4s next year. We've been in the 5s last year and this year. So I highly doubt we're going to be below 4% in 2025. It's always been 2-3% for years, but not right now.
Creeping up a little higher up. We're up against a quick break here. It's 9:41.
Learning some things.
Yeah, why not? The Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate and Business Show. That's right. Boost your credit score up as you're waiting to purchase that house. Improve your debt to income ratio. Save a bigger down payment. There's a lot of things you can do to help yourself. Listen to the show would be good. 248-539-9797. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back to the show. It's a Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show. We take your calls. We're going to go to caller Eric here in a minute. 248-539-9797. Talked about it at the break. That's right. You could do some things to prepare yourself for home ownership, right? Get that credit report run, definitely. When I talk to people all the time, we see some forgiveness in student loans. I literally talked to a guy, and he got a letter that said they're going to walk away from $71,000. It looks like it came from Nelnet. I don't know, but if you're thinking about home ownership, there's a lot of things you can do to prepare yourself. Becky, let's go out to this call here. We've got Eric calling in. Good morning, Eric. Welcome to the show.
Good morning.
What's happening?
Listen, I'm calling for my ex-wife. She asked me to call because I listen to your show.
Thank you.
And you're welcome. I like the show. But anyway, she's interested in getting a home equity loan. Her current mortgage is with Shell Point, and she has a hard time trying to get a hold of this company to inquire about it. I know that the home is. There's a house. It's in North Branch Estates in Clinton Township. It's an oval shaped subdivision with just one way in, one way out. A lot of nice homes. It's a 2,500 square foot, a 2-story colonial, I guess you would call it. The house a couple door down sold 2 years ago for like $350,000. She owes 146, and she's just wondering, could she apply for like a home equity loan with like your company, or does she have to go through the mortgage company? Or
she definitely wants Shell Point. And I'm just going to say it back, and I'll let you dive in here. Well, Shell Point's her servicer in her current loan. She most likely, in my opinion, did not even go to them to originate the transaction. But over the years, wherever she went, that loan might have been sold to a different entity. So Shell Point's probably a pretty good servicer. But not
that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, but not
it's a servicer.
It's a servicer, but not the place to go for your home equity loan. Becky,
yes, meaning that
this.
like a servicer is collecting your payments, right? That's who you're making your payments through. But there's a misconception where people naturally just go to whoever they're making their payments to, thinking that's going to be the best option for them, and that is incorrect. Shell Point most likely will not offer a home equity line of credit. We do all the things, right? So we can do a standalone second. We can do a home equity line of credit. We also can do just a standard rate and term refinance if that is what's going to suit her best, right? Keep in mind a home equity line of credit, that is going to be a rate that is not fixed. It is going to be a higher interest rate, like possibly even low 9s at this point. And that's just wherever you go for a home equity line of credit. Because again, what's happening with these interest rates, that's considered short-term lending. So we might have to we might look at it and it might be better suited for you just to do a normal refinance versus a home equity line. But either way, we can, kind of walk down that path and decide what's the best option.
Eric, do you know her interest rate on her current first mortgage?
3.79%.
Okay.
All right. Maybe we'd want to just do the home equity loan.
Now, is she trying to do some debt consolidation? Like, what is the purpose of the equity line? Is it to pay off debt? Is it to do some home renovations?
Well, a little bit of both.
Okay. So
a little bit of both. Mostly she does, she only wants, I think, maybe $20,000, I think, to just pay off a little bit of debt.
Yeah.
And, maybe, do a small improvements, nothing major.
Okay. So we'll definitely call you after the show because we have to look at the math, right? What is the payment going to be like once you pay off the debt versus this new payment that we're taking on at the home equity line versus what's the payment going to be if we just do one loan with eliminating the debt? And $20,000, I mean, it's not going to be too much. So kind of give you some easy math. For every $1,000 you increase your payment, it's going to affect it by $7. So it's not going to be that substantial of a payment either way, most likely. But we'll definitely make sure that we're setting her up.
So for every 1,000 you said it'll be about $7?
Yeah, just about. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's bad.
Yeah, because you got to understand you're stretching it over 30 years if that's your choice, or if it's 15 or whatever. But it's different if you're doing a home equity line of credit.
Eric, Becky's going to break down all these numbers. She'll give you a call after the show for sure. And just to throw it out there to any listener, a lot of times we see these and it looks like it's like cut and dry. Just go get that mortgage. But a lot of times, or get that home equity loan, a lot of times we might offer her a 10-year cash out fixed rate. I love that loan right now, Becky. The rate's lower than the 30 years, of course. You're locked in for 10 or 15 years. You consolidate your debt. You get the money to do the home renovations, and you just knock off 5 or 10 years off your mortgage. Eric, it's a great call.
Yeah.
We'll follow up with you definitely.
For sure.
after
Like
the
I
show.
have quite a few actually refinances right now, But I mean, in some of these cases, we're saving people $1,000 a month, even though they forego that 4% or that 3% interest rate because of what they're paying in these minimum payments on these credit cards that are not going anywhere. Apples to apples, it's over $1,000 in some of these cases, which is a beautiful thing.
All right, Giovanna, you're a movie star. John McCaffrey with Best Life Company, EXP. He's out there showing homes in Waterford. He says a shout out to you. So whoever
thank
John
you.
is there, he
Okay.
says he loves the show. All right, thanks a lot, John. We appreciate
Thank you,
it.
John.
Actually, everyone's calling me. I got a whole bunch of agents that I'm going to go back to the office. Yeah, they're out showing homes this morning. Things are busy here. 83 degrees, maybe a little warmer today, maybe 85. Gorgeous day in Southeast Michigan. Hopefully the same tomorrow. What a great time to look at houses. Although Becky and I always think that you want to go to look at that house right after a rainstorm. Well, look.
There you go.
If the house has some issues out there. It rained enough
Definitely
last
gonna
week.
show, yeah.
It's going to show itself. So walk around the perimeter of the house and find out everything you can about a house. And, I'll go there with it here this morning. 248-539-9797 if you want to talk about it. No doubt. We're always engaging with agents, reaching out. Hey, I'll call a person on their telephone and the agent will text me back. Hey, Harvey, I'm in a showing, but I'll call you right after or little things like that. So when you go to a showing, don't you have a ladder in your car? Don't you look at the edge of the furnace? And I'm always asked, so what did you find out about the house? And sometimes we walked in. It's just do you do this deep dive or do I need to become a real estate? I don't want to become a real estate agent, but I will.
do the deep dive.
Tell me about your when you present these homes to families.
Yeah, I definitely walk through. I point out any little details or any little things that we do definitely want to know that could be, potential
Red flags.
Yeah, red flags down the road. Exactly. So yeah, I definitely do point that out, but obviously that's the whole purpose for the inspector. Once we do submit the offer for the inspector to go through more in detail. But yeah, definitely communication is key. And I like to point out everything that I do see.
I mean, I kind of want someone to hurt my feelings a little bit politely about my house, that I'm going to buy, because once you buy it, it's yours. And
and I don't want any surprises down the road.
Yeah. And it kind of goes into even what we were talking about before, right? I want to put my head on my pillow at night and know that I properly advise people to the best of my ability. I want to be the person in the room that I once needed. And maybe no one held my hand or educated me. And I feel like some people get into the professions that they're in, like real estate even, you have a lot of stories where they were ill-advised and it made them just compelled to get into this industry so that way it wouldn't happen to somebody else. And when you're in the room, like with you guys, you can feel your passion, you can feel the energy. I almost wish that everyone could be sitting in the room with us. So I hope we're coming across as much as this energy is coming through on Facebook Live, because you can feel your passion and your empathy and just making sure that people are properly advised. And I'm very proud to have you guys both in the room. So I want you guys to, how can we find you on social media? And, Christine, when you're doing your Con Ed and your education, homeowners can take this class, real estate agents can take this class. How can they find you and how can they really just deep dive and have that best foot forward?
So I have a website, propertytaxacademy.com. I am on all socials. Instagram is the Michigan Assessor and Property Tax Academy. I love property owners to take my classes, investors. I've had attorneys take my classes, house flippers. It's really great. I feel like everybody has something to learn. People really don't understand property tax I don't want to say at all, not very much. Mm-hmm. And once they take my class, I see the little fire in their eyes, and it's such a good feeling because they really feel like they have the right tools now to make good financial decisions and help people.
Oh,
it's
gosh.
so powerful.
Well said. Knowledge is everything. It gives you that confidence to take that next step. So I really think this is something out there that we might come and recircle again, because throwing it out there for families, especially when they're looking at first-time home buyers, they're trying to figure out their budget. I think it's one of the most important subjects that we can talk about. And again, shedding some light on it. Thanks a lot for coming in today.
No problem.
It's almost doing a disservice if you're not talking about it.
That's how I feel about it.
It's, because like I said, I don't want my clients calling me, 12 months after the fact and saying I had no idea, and I don't have those kinds of calls because we're having those deep dive conversations. You can't be afraid to have tough conversations. It's all about just that communication element, and you don't know what you don't know. And if you know something, I feel like it's important to share.
I always say people don't realize what they need to know with my class. So it's true.
Yeah. So we'll definitely, I tagged you on socials, and where can we find you?
Sold by G Special.
Sold by G Special. That's
Website,
such a fun name.
Instagram, Facebook, YouTube.
All right, when you're looking for some
LinkedIn.
great people. All right, I got a couple last subjects here to jump on top of. I did write this down. I don't even know if I was going to share it, but sure enough, I had a client that had called a big box lender. They ran their credit report. It looked like 3 or 4 times. I couldn't figure that out. And instead of coaching them, they just said they couldn't help them and hung up the phone. Folks, it really, really matters more now than ever before. Again, I'm in my 33rd year of doing mortgages. I'm talking to you buyers out there. If you're only talking interest rate, and that's one subject, you got to talk about the whole thing. It reminds me, Becky, we have the greatest program, rate rebound program. If you're going to get a mortgage, if everyone thinks, which we all know, that if one day these rates are going to come down, well, you can't wait to purchase the house. Purchase it now, take advantage of that equity, and there's always that opportunity to come back and refinance with us.
You're locking in the price of the home. Okay. So if we are in an appreciating market, this same home that you're going to buy even 6 months down the road, most likely is going to be more. So you have to understand you're locking in the price of the home. You can always slide down with the interest rates and get yourself in a better position. So if you can afford the payment now and the rates move in a lateral position for yourself, and that means it goes lower, you're going to put yourself in a better position. You want to make sure that you are living under your means and even at your means, so that way we make room for these taxes that are eventually going to change as well. So be educated. Don't be afraid to have the tough conversations. And the biggest home buyer mistake that people make is they don't even try. So have the conversation, and let's make home ownership a reality for you.
All right, Christine Lucian, special thanks to you. Giovanna Special. You guys are great. We're going to have you guys back for sure. Always fun to talk about home ownership. Mark, Ryan, Pat Caputo. I think they're coming up next. Keep it here. We got Tiger Baseball. Keep it here on 97.1 The Ticket. Enjoy your day. Be safe on the waters.